he was an orphan boy, and so she had him out there doing jobs. You know, kids, all kids did errands back in those days. And so, he got the neighborhood kids to definitely watch what they're in. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. A few days after we finished infilling the exterior walls with light clay straw, Aaron built the formwork for the interior walls. The cottage will have a half bath and a sleeping nook. Here's a SketchUp drawing of the interior plan. The sleeping nook is a platform elevated about 12 inches above the finished floor. We'll use 1x6 tongue groove boards for the platform surface. There'll be long slide-out drawers underneath the platform. We'll put shiplap on the bottom half of the wall and apply earthen plaster to the upper portion. The half bath will have a small vanity and a bucket compost toilet. We'll frame the interior walls with 2x4 lumber and infill with cob. The half bath will have standard 2-foot wide door. As Aaron's go-to crew, Tom and I helped pouring the concrete grade beam. The form building and pouring process was almost identical to what we did for the perimeter grade beam. Check out the link above to that video. Since the interior walls aren't load-bearing, we made the rubble trench much shallower, and the grade beam is only 6 inches wide rather than 8. We tied the interior grade beam to the perimeter grade beam by drilling into the perimeter and inserting rebar.
We'll be installing an earthen floor in the main area and in the half bath. An earthen floor is composed of many layers of different materials, the first being several inches of gravel. We'll build up materials until the finished floor height is 3/4 of an inch above the grade beam. So as you can see, I have a ways to go. I'll make another detailed video about earthen floors, but see the link above for a preview video. Before framing the interior walls, I wanted to install the ceiling. It will be 1x6 tongue groove pine boards. Here I'm putting fiberglass insulation batts between the rafters. I also had to run the rest of the wiring for the overhead lights and fans. Unfortunately, I was negligent in recording installing the ceiling. Here's a slightly out of focus shot just after I started, and here's the finished ceiling. I applied natural linseed oil to the boards. I framed the walls fairly closely to my SketchUp design. After running the last of the wiring, I infilled the walls with cob. I ran out of dirt towards the end, so I finished up with light clay straw. I thought I might put a bottle window above the half bath door, but a few days later I filled the area in with cob. I built the front door. It's a 2x4 framework with 1/4 inch plywood sheathing. I'm still working on the hexagonal window. I'll take a deep dive into building the front door in a future video. So the two large windows are off-the-shelf aluminum double-pane single-hung windows. The half-bath window is a vinyl awning window. The awning window was white, but I primed it and painted it black. There are 4 transom windows that I'm still working on. I'll touch on them in a later video. I framed the sleeping nook platform like a deck, hanging 2x4s with joist hangers. There's a lower set of joists that will support the hardware for the underbed storage. I fastened the 1x6 tongue groove boards to the joists with trim screws. Earthen plaster will sometimes dust off if you brush against it. The nook is only about 6 inches wider than a queen-size mattress, so I decided to install shiplap about halfway up the wall to prevent dust winding up in the bed. The shiplap will also serve as a headboard. Good morning. Alright, today's going to be our first day of plastering. Take a look inside, see some of the some of the details. So a time lapse, getting a before picture. So a couple details. So we got our electrical in with these mud rings on now, because this plaster is going to come out about 1/2 inch here. And we test the electrical to see if it was working before we set up the wall. The other thing we have is we have these baseboards. Let's see if I can angle down there. We have these baseboards all along the flooring here. Along the floor here, rather. And that'll just give us a point to plaster down to. Like, again, these are about 3/4 of an inch, so plaster will probably come out about 1/2 inch here. And around the ceiling, same thing. It's a whole lot easier to plaster up to this little bit of looks like 1x2 instead of plastering all the way up the ceiling. And then this is just where the counter will be, top of the counter. And then here, put a couple furring strips on there. That's where the cupboards are going to be located, the kitchen cupboards. So they're just going to be a good, nice place to anchor to later on. We're still going to plaster in between the furring strips, but it'll keep it nice and even, make a good surface for the kitchen cupboards. And here's like the little sleeping nook. We just sort of have it shiplap about halfway, and then we're going to do plaster up the ceiling there. And right now we just have everything covered in tarps and cardboard and everything, just to sort of protect the floor somewhat. I'm not too worried about the floor, actually. Bathroom, same details. Got our light switch, our lights, our electrical in with our mud rings on. And then our trim boards up there. Make it a whole lot easier to plaster these walls.